separately and submit different outputs, so that in the meeting, the team is going to decide on what to take and what to leave out. That's another one. And the third one, in case of like one of the team members mentioned at a meeting that there was a laptop crashed. In case of that, in case that team member was the only role in that team during that project, what happens? Would that not be a deterrent to the progress of the project? For example, if the team member was a QA and the laptop got crashed, I hope that won't that won't affect the progress of the project. And what should be the solution to that in case? Then another one is that, yes, I'm happy that it's good to know that amusement can also take place during the project, so that it goes with the word that says all works without play makes Jack a dull boy. So it's good to know that we can actually have an amusement session. That's a good one. Then another one is that when they were in towards the last part where we're having input on what to stop, what to continue, what to stop. Yes, this the slide on play now on show. Instead of while the Scrum Master was asking who posted this suggestion, who did this, who did that, can we actually have it that the team member that make a submission should write his or her name under his or her submission, so that the Scrum Master will not be asking who submitted this, who submitted that, and makes the work faster. So those are my questions and comments. Thank you very much for having me.
Okay, thank you so much for that, Abdul-Gafar. I think if you are an interviewer, your interview, the people you're interviewing are in trouble. But that's good questions, and thank you also for your comments. Okay, so because this is a workshop, yeah, and it's going to be an interactive question. The questions you've posted, yeah, I'm going to ask any of the interns who wants to answer, because I know we've all gone through training, and most of the things you saw during this demo, you've already been trained on it. Okay, so what we want to see is a situation where you're able to pick up and answer some of these questions based on the training you've gone through. Because, like I said, this is a workshop. So we don't want a situation where it's just your mentors and buddies giving you answers, or the tutors providing answers for you. Let's see what you know, what you can come up with. And if it's good to go, then that's fine. If it's not, and then we will provide clarity to any answers that you provide. So I'm going to go first to the first question which you asked, which I think any of the Scrum Masters interns should be able to answer, because you've gone through estimation techniques. Okay, so it's Abdul-Gafar says, what is the voting for? Why are they voting? Do we have any of the Scrum Masters interns who could answer that question based on the training you've had on estimation techniques?
Yes, I can answer that question. Adura wants to answer that question.
All right, Adura, please take it.
So they are measuring the effort. The effort it will take for them to finish every task on the story. So they've used the geometrical, I don't know how to say that word, estimation, and it's writing. That was just the training we did, was it yesterday? And they have picked a number, and to get an average, they've all decided, let's vote. So somebody picks 3, someone voted 3, someone voted 2. So to get one, to be on the same page, they've all voted again to agree on one number. And everybody gave their reasons, just like we did during the training. They gave reasons why they think, why have they voted 3? Because I think there are going to be things that are going to determine. It's not as simple as it looks. So that's what they just did there. They voted on the effort. My own question from that particular aspect is, she said she had created that board previously. I don't think, well, I don't know how to assess the board to create on my own as an administrator on my own group. To create that effort board, I think I'll find that a bit tricky because the board was already there. She showed it was already set up. So I think I answered your question about the effort, about the voting.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you so much, Adra, for that. Thank you for answering the question and also for your own question on how to generate an estimation board as the Scrum Master prior to your sprint planning, which we will be able to do time permitting. Yeah, let's see how it goes if we're able to generate that. If we're not able to, your Scrum Masters in your, the Scrum Master mentor in your team might need to take all the Scrum Masters in your team on regarding how to do that, train you on how to do that. But if we can do it, yeah, that's fine. And if we can't because of time, the Scrum Masters mentors will be advised to let you share your screen, join on the meeting, share your screen, and then they will take you on how to do that. And then regarding the answer you provided for Abdul Ghaffar, are you satisfied with that question? Or
what I would have asked to follow up is that can't we see the items they were voting for? Now, what is the item 1? What is the item 2? What is the item 3?
okay,
Well,
so that was during the estimation period.
Yes, ma. Yes.
Yeah. Okay, so Adura, do you want to follow up on that, or does another Scrum Master want to pick that up? Because I do know it was part of the training also. What does that number represent? Is that it, Abdul?
Yes, yes. Thank you.
Okay, so what does that number represent when you say a 1? When you say
me to have a go.
Okay, Bola, can you
Yeah, so there was a scale that we talked yesterday. I think it's the Fibonacci scale. So in terms of how the numbers go up, so if the effort is 1, and then you do 1 add 1 is 2, then 2 add 3 is 5. So it goes up in scales. So if something is more difficult, maybe take into consideration maybe something new, or there's a lot of steps to it or complexity, the higher the number will be. Or if, for example, it's something that has been done before. I think somebody mentioned when they were discussing about whether something is a 3 or a 1, if they've had experience of doing that before, then they would put it as a lower number. So it's just how the scale goes up. Instead of going 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1 and 1 is added, 2, then 2 add 3, then 5, and then 8, and it goes up like that.
Thanks, Bella, for that. Okay, do you also want to tell Abdul, just for him to have full understanding, why would I pick a 1? Why would I pick a 2? I do understand how the numbers go up, why the numbers are 0, 1, 3, and all that. The last 2 numbers are added together in order to form the next number, and it goes on like that. That's how you form the number. But what are those things I need to consider when I'm picking a particular number?
Sorry.
Does any Scrum Master want to take that on?
Yeah, Stan here.
All right, Stan.
So when you're picking those numbers, you're picking those numbers based on how much those numbers represent how much effort it would take each item to be completed. Hello.
Yeah, that's it.
Hi, Stan.
Yeah.
Sorry about that. Yeah, I'm so sorry. I missed out. Gafal, did you get that?
Yeah. Well, if I may ask, if during the project, I hope all the roles will understand what they are actually voting for. Maybe that will be best understood during practical session if you are involved. I don't actually get what they are saying actually for now. I got it partially, but I don't have full understanding for now.
Okay. So what's your role?
I'm a QA.
Okay, so you need to have full understanding and not partial understanding, because you're the one voting. You'll be the one estimating.
Because,
Sorry, the scale.
because all of them voted actually.
Gaffer,
Not all of them.
if I may chip in, Gaffer, have you attended a team meeting with with what team are you in? Have you attended any of your team meetings?
Upsilon.
Have you attended any full team meeting that comprised of everybody in your team, Scrum Masters?
No, sir.
Okay, so probably you need to reach out to a Scrum Master in your team and then other members within your role to have a fuller understanding.
Okay.
I thank you so much, Stan, because that was going to be my next task for the Scrum Masters. So Scrum Masters, you were trained on estimation technique. So because the QAs and your developers are the one that not actually estimate, it is your responsibility as part of your onboarding task to go and now train your team member, especially your QAs, but all the team members, so that everybody has a shared understanding when you meet with them to say, okay, so during sprint planning, we're going to do estimation and all that. This is what estimation is all about. If you're able to download the video that was done, the recording that was done during your estimation training, and you want to share it with your team so that they hear it themselves and get better clarification and all that, please do so. Because it wasn't everybody that attended that estimation technique, it was just the Scrum Master. So you should be able to, but at the end of the day, the people that actually do estimation during your sprint planning is your developer and your QA, not every team member. Okay?
Thank you for that.
All right.
Thank you very much.
All right, before I come to you, Gineka and Adura, let me quickly take a question that has been put in the chat so that we balance things up quickly. There was some questions on, bear with me, just quickly read it out and then we're going to it. Bear with me. Okay, so while I'm looking for that, any mentors and bodies that has anything to chip in, please let me know so that it has to be an interactive session with between or everyone, because it's a workshop and not just some people. Okay, so we got a question from T, and he wants to know whose role is it to come up with the logo in the story. So do we have anybody that has an idea who comes up with the logo in the logo you have in the story? Whose responsibility is it to provide the logo intensely? Anyone wants to give it a try?
Is it the BAs and the developers?
I think it's the PO.
No, for Adenike, no, it's not the BAs and the developers. For Adura, yes, it's the PO. Where do you think the BO got the logo from?
Get it from the
stakeholders.
Stakeholders. Yes, well done. Thank you. Because that logo can be their business logo, yeah, and they want it on their website. So definitely it has to come from them. Yeah. So that answers that question. Well done. And then the second question, I will go to, okay, so T sent 4 questions. Let me take all these 4 questions and then we would come back to, I know Abdul Ghaffar gave 4 questions, 5 questions that I was just able to take just one out of this one. So Abdul Ghaffar, I'll go through all your own questions also, but let me just quickly take all the ones that T posted. So the second question is, are the effort number in the estimation for hours and days? Okay, so because your Scrum Masters are going to train you regarding that. Okay, so Scrum Masters, the estimation based on your training, was it in hours or days? Any Scrum Master?
It's based on the effort, not don't measure it with hours or days.
Yeah, that's the question I was just about to ask as a Scrum Master myself. Because if I'm going to train someone, I know we learned about the estimation, but that was on effort. The question I was going to ask is that effort now, does that mean, let's say we took 3 as the estimation number. Does that mean that is 3 days or 3? That's the question I was going to ask. Is that 3, when we say, okay, we estimate it to be 3 for effort, is that 3 days or 3 hours? That's the question I was about to ask.
Okay, so that was the answer that Pan provided. Okay, Dele, do you want to give it a go? Hi, Dele.
Hi. You
Yeah.
mean I should answer that question?
And I thought you wanted to say something. That was why I said you want to give it a go.
No, that's the
Okay.
question I wanted to ask.
Okay.
Can I chip
Fine.
Sorry,
in
please, the
something?
question is not even clear. Please, can we rehear the question again?
Oh,
Okay, so the question is, are the effort number, those 1, 3, 5, that was being used in the estimation, are they based in, is it in hours or days? And I think that question had already been asked by Abdul Ghaffar when I said, so those numbers, what determines the number that I pick? And that was the question that
what is the scale? Excuse me, ma. What's the scale? Is it from scale 1 to 100? And which one is the highest? Or I mean, the numbers are not really clear. Please.
Okay, these Scrum Masters, I'm asking you all these questions. You're going to answer it. Dele, do you want to answer that question?
yes. So there might be other ways, but we learned about the Fibonacci. There's a Fibonacci way, which is this one that we use today. So that one, the numbers go up. Like if we start at 1, I think somebody already explained it, but let me try again. So if we start at 1, the next number is another 1. Then you add 1 plus 1 together, it gives you 2. Then when you add 2 plus 1, you add the 2 plus the previous 1, it gives you 3. You add 3 plus the previous 2, it gives you 5. So that's how the numbers go up. And it went up to 21. So between 1 to 21 is the scale of effort, how much effort the developers think it will take them to develop, a task or a user story. So how complex is it? Is it, if we say like it's 3, that means it's not that complex. But if we say that it's 21, that means it's very complex. It's going to take them a lot of effort to develop that user story.
Thank you.
Yeah, so that's the Fibonacci. We also have the other one. I can't remember the name, but it's like a t-shirt style. And that t-shirt is like not numbers now. The alphabets are small, medium to large, and extra large, like that. So you can also use that one, but we are using the Fibonacci one now. So that's that one. I hope you understand that one. But my question now as a Scrum Master is, that effort number, is it in hours or days, please?
I think that number is based on the story that you're dealing with at that point in time, and whether it's in days or hours is something that needs to be agreed with by the team.
Emoji, can I go for that question?
Okay, please. Okay.
Okay, so yeah, so I just tried to share. This is the Fibonacci numbers, and you can see it starts with 0. When you add 1 to this, it gives you 1. When you add 1 to this, it gives you 2. Yeah. So when you now add like this and this together, it gives you 3. This and this together gives you 5. That is 0, 1, 0 plus 1, 2, 2 plus 1, 3, then 3 plus 2, 5, just like that. So about the effort, I mean, when you estimate, so say for instance, like you estimated and you say 5. So you're estimating that story in efforts, the size of that story. So what do I mean by size? Size means that, okay, there's this story now that we are looking at. Okay, how clarified are we? How I'm like clarified? That's one. What is the
size of this story to ambiguity. Like, can we still split it? Like, again, knowledgeable are we on this particular story? So we are like calculating the effort as a team. We are looking at a story. How long is it going to take us to complete this story? That's an effort for the whole team. Like, looking at the size of this story, are we clarified? Is this story, is it not too big? If it's big, let us cut it. Let us break it into different, lower, especially when you say 8, obviously is obviously high. Then knowledgeable, it's also there. How clarified, the clarity, are we clarified on this story? And it is estimated in effort, in size as a whole team. So it can now go for, okay, obviously that one goes for days. If I'm wrong, would you correct me? But for the other one, the task, whereby when it's being committed, that one particular one go for hours, and that is an individual one. That is, I'm a developer. I've taken one story. Now, my own hour for that particular story, I'm going to estimate it, and that is task. But you see, that one is a joint work as a team, as a developer, as a QA. We are looking at that story as a whole. What effort, how much effort can we use to complete this story? And that is why you have different things to check for that story. Like, it's so complex. Like, you have to check what exactly, what time, how clarified are we concerning this particular story? Is it going to take us, is it sizable? Like, is it big? Is it small enough for us to complete this story? So I don't know if I've answered the question, but I think that is measured in effort, in size. You check when it comes to estimating with this Fibonacci, or it's measured in efforts as a team. Then the other one as an individual task in hour.
Thank you so much, Toke, for taking them out of, should I use the word, taking them out of the misery or the unknown. So just in further to what Toke has said, let's look at that word effort literally. What does it mean? Literally, it means, the physical and the mental activity you put into achieving or to doing something. And that's what you do, when you're voting, when you're putting your effort, you're voting and estimating a story in an effort. You've all, if you look at the team, what they did during the sprint planning, they read the story, they have a shared understanding. Okay, so this is what we need to do. What is the physical activity I need to put in as a developer, as a tester, to get this achieved? What is the mental activity? What is things I need to know, the knowledge I need to have, the experience I need to have? What is the unknown that might be there that I need to put in place when I'm, estimating, when I'm voting for this particular story, to say this is what it's going to take to do it. So like Toke said, there are some factors you put in place when you're doing that. You put the factor of you have the unknown, you don't know the complexity of that particular story. How voluminous is that story? You're putting that in. How technical is that story? That's the complexity you're looking at. You're looking at how voluminous it is. Is it a big story? Is it something that is going to be big in order for you to carry out physically and mentally to do it? The unknown issue is there also. You don't know, you don't have the full knowledge of what you're going to meet when you start carrying out that particular task, on that story. And those are the things that help you to be able to vote, for a particular story. And like I said, I will try as much as possible to make sure that all team members, not just the Scrum Masters alone, are able to watch that video. I'm not promising I will talk to admin, and if it's possible, it will be dropped in all the guilds so that everybody is able to watch it, because the tutor that took that session actually went through giving examples, looking at the story and giving examples to say, okay, so let's estimate what effort would you give to this and why are you giving that effort to that, so that everybody has a deeper understanding. But in a nutshell, that is what your effort means. So your effort is not picked based on the hours based on the days. Like Toke explained, that is done. You estimate your task in hours. But when it comes to the story itself, that is estimated with effort. You looking at those, putting into consideration those factors that we've just listed out. And you're looking at the physical and the mental activity you need to do as a developer, as a tester on that particular story. I hope that's clearer.
Yes.
Yes, thank you.
Okay.
All right, you're welcome. Thank you. Okay, so quickly, I'm just going to take the rest of T's question, take the rest of Abdulgavar's question so that I can, Ginika, please be patient with, I'll get to your question also. Okay, so that has been, sorry, that's the second question for T. And then the third question is during, let me see, during story estimation, does the BA vote as well? Okay, so can anybody answer that question? Does the BA vote during, based on what we've said now, does the BA vote during, or participate in estimation? Let me put it that way.
Yes.
No.
Does the BA vote?
No, it's just the developers.
Okay, this is a good one. Does the VA vote?
I think it's the Scrum
No.
Master
No.
there and
No.
the development team.
Okay, so
in
all right,
estimation.
let's answer that question in another way. Please list the people. Who are the people that vote out of all the Scrum team members? Who are the people that vote?
Development and the QAs.
Okay, so
The
who is
developers and the PO.
Sorry?
Maybe we do have the now.
Let's take it one after the other, please. So somebody said the developers and the PO.
Testers, the QA, the testers.
The testers, the developers, and who else?
I said the PO, but I'm not too sure of that, but I think so.
Okay. Who
Scrum
else?
Masters.
Scrum
No.
Masters?
It's the development team that votes. That's the
Who are the
testers and the
who makes the development team?
the testers and the
Developers,
developers.
testers.
The developers and testers.
Yeah.
Okay. So anyone else? Are we sticking to those answers? Just the developers and the testers?
Yes, those two only vote because they are the one going to be doing the work and they are the one that understand how long the effort is going to take them to work.
Okay.
So it's only those two that vote.
All right. Thank you.
But in some places, some other people can also vote. That's a situation whereby you have UX designers and all of them like that. In some teams, I've seen where they vote before, but they might not be supposed to vote, but I've seen them voted.
Okay. So think that's another insight into it. So for Ed, Bolanle, and I can't remember all the other people that said it's just the developer and the testers. Okay. So it's just the developer and the testers that do the voting. Now, the situation with the UX design, if the UX design works within the sprint, most UX design would they might work ahead of sprint, just like the BAs work ahead of sprint. Okay, but in a situation where your UX designer works within the sprint, like they were showing the wireframe and all that. Even with that, the wireframe would have been the UX design would have been provided prior to the sprint planning and the sprint work, the development work actually being done. So the development work we're talking about here is the developer building that particular feature, which is the requirement in the story, and then the tester testing it. Surely, the name is QA, quality assurance, to assure that all the acceptance criteria has been met. That's making sure that value and quality is added to that particular requirement, that particular feature that is being developed. Okay, so they are the ones actually working during the sprint, and they are the ones that need to estimate the effort it's going to take them to do that work. So the Scrum Master doesn't estimate, the PO doesn't estimate. They are part of the sprint, but they are not part of the actual development work. So they don't estimate. The BA also don't estimate because they work ahead of sprint. They provide the story ahead of sprint. So while we're in sprint 1, the BAs are working in sprint 1 to provide the story for sprint 2 and 3, if possible. They work ahead of sprint. So they don't have actual development work being done even though they're part of the development team, but they don't have, like I said, actual development work being carried out during the sprint. Are we clear on that?
Yes, thank you.
All right, quickly, I'll take the last question
Yes,
for
thank you.
T says, at what point does BA does UAT in a sprint? Is it before sprint review with PO and other participating stakeholders? Does anyone want to try out on that question? I don't want to start, just provide all the answers.
Can I?
When do, because I know you've been taking through these also in your training. So when do we do UAT? BA?
UAT is done usually at the last stage when you are presenting to the business owners. Yeah, I think it's done towards the last stage of testing or development.
Okay, so when you say when they are presenting to the stakeholders, are you saying it's done during sprint review?
Not necessarily like that, because UAT would be probably when it's an activity on its own whereby the business users, depending on the kind of UAT they are performing, business users are actually the one doing the testing. It might be with the support of the QA in the development team, but there are occasions where they will just be the one doing the testing and doing their own recording, and then when they are done, that's when we can then come and look at any report that they have given.
Okay, thanks for that. What is the full meaning of UAT? Let's start from there.
User acceptance testing.
User acceptance testing.
Okay, so it's a user acceptance testing, and like JF said earlier on, it depends on the composition and the structure of the team. So the UAT can be done by the stakeholders, experts from the stakeholders, whereby once what you need to do has been done, the QA finish what they need to do, they put it in the UAT column, the stakeholders can come in, and carry out that UAT and carry out the UAT. And what they want to know is that, okay, all the acceptance criteria we put in place has been done, has been tested. At the same time, that responsibility can be delegated to the PO to do in a situation where your stakeholders don't have the time, to jump on the come as much as they need to in order to carry out that UAT. That can be delegated to the PO to do, because remember, the PO is the one that got the requirements from them. The PO has the understanding of what needs to be done. And the full meaning of your PO is the product owner. So he's the product owner. He knows what the stakeholder, what the client wants, and he's able to do that UAT. And that, again, can be delegated to the BA to do. And I think that's where the question of at what point does the BA does the UAT comes in during the sprint, okay? So the PO can decide to be the one to do the UAT, and the PO also can delegate that responsibility to the BA, because the BA also understands the requirements. They wrote the story. So the BA also can be delegated to that responsibility to carry out the UAT, which I think most of your PO during this internship might tell you to do, so that you have an experience of carrying out a UAT. And your mentors, I think your mentors will be able to put you through how you do that and what you need to do the UAT. Okay, so yes, it can be done by a stakeholder if that is the structure that has been put in place, that the stakeholder would come back. It could be an expert, subject matter expert regarding what is being built in order to carry out the UAT. Before they believe that that particular feature is done. It could be done also by the PO if that is what has been planned and is in place, and the PO can also delegate to the BA to do the UAT. I hope we're clear on that one also. BA mentors, if you have any other thing to add to that, please feel free to unmute and do that.
Sorry, I kind of missed because I'm driving. I was at home before then. sorry, the question says earlier that when can a UAT be done? I kind of miss a little bit of what you said about when can a UAT be done. Is it going to be done after once the QA put it on the board? That is when a UTA will be checked. Will be carried out.
Yes,
UAT,
that's when
sorry,
the UAT is done. That's when it's done.
So once the QA put it on the Azure board or on the Jira, whichever tools they are using, once they put it that it is done, or the developer put it that it is that particular place is done, that is when the usual acceptance testing will be done, will be carried out.
Okay, so on your board, you have columns moving ahead, like as a journey. So once your developer is done, the QA are the ones that pick it and work on it to test it. Once they test, if there are no bugs on it and everything is passing well, the whole thing is working the way it should work based on the acceptance criteria and the wireframe that has been put in place, they would put it in QA done. So once it's in QA done, that means the developer and the testers are finished what needs to be done on that particular story. That is when the BA picks it up, or the PO, like I said, and then moves it into the UAT column to carry out UAT on it. And once they've done with the UAT and everything is passing, everything is in sync, what the acceptance criteria is saying is what they are saying on the website also, and all that, that will be moved to the UAT done column. And from your UAT done column, your Scrum Master picks it and puts it in done, the last column. So say we finished working on this particular story.
Okay, thank you very much.
All right, you're welcome. So I think that's the last question for T. Okay, I'm just quickly going to run through the questions that Abdul Ghaffar put there, and then I'll come to you, Jennifer. So please just bear with me. I just want to check the questions, okay? So Abdul Ghaffar, your second question is voting collaborated before sprint planning? As in, does the QA come together to say, oh, let's pick this number, agree together on a particular number and everything, and then come during the sprint planning and do a unanimous voting, whereby they can all pick the same number and all that? That was the question, if I'm right.
That is part of it, but what I actually meant with that question was that, for example, as a QA, if we are two in the team, are we allowed to work together on the ground outside the normal Scrum stand-up, daily stand-up, and have a unanimous output such that you are going to present the same thing during our meeting, or we work individually and have different presentations such that at the meeting we are going to pick what we need and leave out what we don't need.
Okay, do we have somebody that wants to answer that? Anybody wants to provide?
Maybe I'll be able to answer part of it. Like one of the issues that was raised in the before the retro, that we don't have much communication. We should, meet outside and talk about work. When you work in a sensitive environment, you don't communicate that outside work. You don't talk about it outside work. So in this case, you don't talk about what you are doing outside work. When you are at work, you can talk about it, but when you are outside work, you can't say it. Even with your teammates, you can't communicate it. That's how sensitive it is.
Can I say something a little bit?
Okay, go ahead, yeah.
Yes. Yeah. From my perspective, I would say that it's good to speak unanimously, because when you come to the board to come and talk there, you don't want to talk with different voices. You want to talk with one voice, because it's not going to look good on your team. That you're coming to a place where you have stakeholders, you have people, and you're saying different things, then it's going to look really, really bad. And to make a point on what the other person that just spoke now said, you can if you're working on the same project, whether outside or inside or whatever, you can speak because you have already been vetted, and they know who they have given the project to. So obviously they trust you. That's why they've employed you. They have done their checks. So if you have two people on your team and you are working on the same thing and you have privilege to look at those same things, then you have to communicate and discuss about it, whether outside or inside. And then there are occasions where you work weekends, and then your colleague is there and is assisting you and you are doing your work. I think that's it for me.
Okay, thank you. Based on what you've said, let me ask this question. Your sprint planning meeting, who attends? Scrum Masters, this is to you because you're the one that does, you're the one that was trained for the Scrum ceremony. Who are the people that attend your sprint planning? Because the estimation aspect is in the, is an activity that happens during your sprint planning. Who are the people that attend, the participants for your sprint planning? Scrum Masters.
QAs, BA, developers, and the PO.
Okay, so all right. So thanks for that, Bola. So based on that, I think it was GF that said that it's better to collaborate outside the team or to agree outside the team because you don't want to come in and embarrass yourself in front of the stakeholders. Okay, so your sprint planning meeting, your stakeholders are not there. This is a meeting you have with yourselves, okay, together. And I don't believe you should collaborate on, let's unanimously agree on this particular number when you're coming to do your estimation. And I'll tell you why. Okay, so JF, you can have more experience than Moji, and we're both QAs in the group. So if we collaborate together, and I know you are more experienced, and you say, oh, that story, if we're going to take it into sprint and all that, let's just make it a 4. And I would say, yeah, because you're more experienced than I am, and I don't want to query you. You might even be in the organization before me. And I just say that, oh, well, it's there. Let's just, put it there. And we come and we agree, I'll put a 3 there, and you put a 3 there also. And the Scrum Master certification will say, oh, that's a unanimous vote and everything, and then we'll go ahead with it. But I don't know what has, factored you, a more experienced person putting a 3. It might be because you've done a similar story before, and you feel, oh, my physical and mental activities to do this one, it's just a 3, or it's just a 2. I don't have the much based on your experience, based on the experience you have working on that. But I don't have the same experience, and I'm just following you. That is why with agile process, you don't estimate outside. You don't meet to collaborate outside and then just come in and do a unanimous number. That is why you're voting. And that is why if you check when they were doing the voting, everybody's vote was revealed after everyone has voted. It has to be done without being revealed first. So they don't reveal my first, whereby your own number that you're going to call is based on the fact that you've seen mine. Everybody has to done it. Everybody has to do it behind, or it's not revealed. And then when it's now revealed, because what that does is also it helps new members to get better. You understand? And understand why this person has picked a particular number. When the estimation was being done, you could see the Scrum Master asking those that have different numbers to say, why did you vote that particular number? Why did you pick that effort? Why is it that effort is what you picked? And you could see them explaining, oh, because I thought with this and that and that and that in play, that's why I've picked that number. That helps the other person that has picked another number to say, oh yeah, well, that what he's saying is true and all that. Okay, I'll come down to that, what he has said. It helps you to have a better understanding. You have shared understanding and a better understanding on this particular story, which you might not have had before. Okay, so that's why it's better to do it individually during the sprint planning. It helps you to get better with what you need to do. Your experience also and your exposure gets better rather than collaborating behind and then just coming because you want to have an agreed number when you come to the meeting and have a united front. It's really not about that. I don't know if that's correct.
Yeah, it is clear, but I think probably I got the context wrong. I was talking based on meetings generally, not sprint meeting. So I was talking based on meetings, and then there are several meetings that you always have that are outside agile. And then when you come, let's say for example, sprint review, and they ask you to say something, they will ask questions, and then you are talking in sprint review. You guys have gone together, you have done the work, and you are in sprint review, and a tester raises up their hand and they are saying something different from another person in a sprint review where you have stakeholders and stuff like that.
Okay, so even with that, you could see that while they were doing the demo, they had a mini review within the team themselves before the sprint review. So that's what you do together. As a team, you have to collaborate and interact together. Yeah, and they did that when they were doing the demo. The Scrum Master did call them together to say, okay, so what have we been able to do this sprint? What are we showcasing? What are we going to demo to the stakeholders when we go out there? So they have a united front already before they go into that sprint review in order to demo what has been done.
Exactly, that's my context. Yeah.
All right. Okay, thank you. So the another question, the third question from Abdul Ghaffar was the issue regarding the crash laptop and what can be done. And he said, okay, the situation he gave was if that was the only member for that particular role and they have a crashed laptop, what would need to be done? Does anybody want to crack that one?
I
give that a go.
Can try.
Hi, Ed. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, hi. So if you have a crashed laptop and the IT have tried, they've not been able to resolve it, they'll give you a brand new laptop. They'll set it up. They'll set up everything you need, and then you continue with your work.
Okay, thank you for that. Okay, so who takes on, in furtherance to that, who takes on that role? I'm a QA now, and I've come to I've come and say that, oh, I have a crashed laptop, because that was what happened during the daily stand-up. The QA said, oh, I had the crashed laptop, so I've not been able to do what I need to do. Who takes up that responsibility?
The Scrum Master.
Master.
Okay.
Scrum Master.
Okay, so thank you for that. And the Scrum Master, yes, would definitely take up that because they need to provide a new tool for that QA, the tester, to be able to work with. So the Scrum Master will pick that up. And if you look at during the demo also, the QA himself, the QA herself did say that something has been done already that has been taken for repair or something, and it would be resolved, I think he said, the next day. So it's not all impediments that the Scrum Master can take off. Okay, so the Scrum Master wants to empower you as a team member. So it's in a situation where this particular impediment, you are not able to resolve it yourself, definitely you escalate to the Scrum Master. And please don't leave it until the daily Scrum before you tell the Scrum Master. So let's assume now that today we're working and my laptop crashed around 9 and we've already done the daily Scrum before the laptop crashed. I'm not going to just stay down and just say, I'll wait for the daily Scrum next tomorrow. That's when I'll now tell my Scrum Master that I wasn't able to work because it crashed and all that. You could, as a team member, maybe reach out to maybe other QAs if you think, oh, could anybody resolve it? If it can't be resolved the same day, you escalate to your Scrum Master so that can be dealt with on time before the next what is it called, the next daily Scrum you have to give the update. Okay, so you don't wait, you don't sit and wait, because then that means that is you working in isolation. You're not carrying your team members along, and you're not being visible enough. Okay, all right, and then we did comment the amusement part of the retro to say that all work and no play.
Sorry, Muji, before you go to another topic, when you said Scrum Master, does that mean that the Scrum Master has to look for another QA to do that person's testing that cannot work?
Okay, so in this situation, it's about the tool that has broken down, isn't it?
No, I think the question Jaffa asked was, if a QA is not able to work for whatever reason, who steps in to do that work?
Okay.
Okay. What I actually asked was what was answered actually. If the tool broke down, but this one can come as an addition.
Yes.
They've
Okay,
answered my question, but this one can come.
So in a situation where your Scrum Master, you have one QA, and that QA has an emergency. He's sick, has gone to the hospital, can't come to work. Can somebody give Scrum Masters or QA, anybody really, what can be done to resolve that? What do you think can be done to resolve that? Does anybody want to give
Moji, what if you have a test manager in that team, not just QAs, you have a test manager. What happens in that situation? Because a lot of these things at times, I think in my own situation, I think from experience, it depends on the structure. Because at times it will be your test manager that handles that goes to the Scrum Master that does all this, rather than Scrum Master directly dealing with QA. So when you have a test manager, is that still the same thing? You bypass your test manager?
Okay, thank you so much, Jeff, for that. You know what I was talking earlier, and I said it is not everything you take to your Scrum Master. Okay, so you've come to a meeting, and I said it earlier on. I said somebody else in the team can actually resolve that for you before you go to the Scrum Master. So you take an impediment to your Scrum Master, where, like you said, maybe the test manager is not able to resolve it. It's beyond the team itself now, and the Scrum Master taking it has to go outside the Scrum team in order to rectify what needs to be rectified. Yeah, in a situation where it's the laptop now, if the test manager is not able to resolve it and all that, you don't want to distract the team so much from the sprint goal. So the Scrum Master is coming in to pick up that impediment so that the team can focus on what they're doing. And then maybe go to the IT department, in order to get a new laptop, get what needs to be done. Yeah, quickly, Pep Major. I don't know, Aditi, is that you?
Hi, Moji, it's Pat here. Good. Yeah, I've been listening and thank you for that. Well done to everyone. Yes, I just want to add more to the question relating to if you have a system that got broken and you're in the middle of a sprint. So I'm just going to answer this from experience. So middle of a sprint, my laptop charger stopped working and I need to deliver on a particular user story testing. So as a QA, my first point of call escalation is my team. Let my Scrum Master know I have this issue. And because my Scrum Master would not be the one, I'm informing my Scrum Master so he's aware. And immediately I let my test manager know because he's the one that would expedite the replacement process for me, charger. I'm working remotely. So I let my Scrum Master know, and he quickly reached out to IT to send me a new charger, as on like first class, and the email, they put it in the post for me. So you need to know, because if you there's a process of of anything happening, like something is broken down, you raise an incident request, it goes through a lot of processes and all that, and before somebody approves and somebody, you need to be a proactive QA, because your role also can put the team's sprint at that moment in jeopardy. It's the same for other roles, but you are testing and something needs to go live. That's the worst that can happen, and it's stopping at your desk. And at the same time, you should not be incommunicado, because if your laptop is broken, it kind of sounds like you can't even communicate with people. So when you are on the road, you also need to ensure that you have your means of communication on your phone. because that was how the laptop was just going on and off. And you can imagine I was not physically at work. And you could find yourself in other worse scenarios. So you need to be able to think on your feet to know who could help you with what. So, and in addition to that, your email at work will be, you have your work saved on the cloud. You have your work saved in the repository. You should be able to access that on a different device that is personal to you, if that is possible in your workplace. Just so I hope I've helped somebody, with this response. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Lady Pat, for that. And in short, you've had it from the pro. So I can't add anything to that. Okay, so the last question for Abdul is, oh yeah, it was talking about the retro and why the names of the people that posted the entries are not there. Why the Scrum Masters had to be calling to say who made this post, who put this post there, and all that. Okay, so does anybody want to, especially the Scrum Masters, do you want to give it a go? Why do you think that is in place? Anybody, not just the Scrum Masters alone, anyone can give it a go. Why do you think the postings are being put there without the names of the people that put the post there?
Well, I think it's to aid communication among team members, That's just what I think.
Okay, thanks, Ginika. Anyone else?
Could it be because so that for people to be able to feel comfortable and honest in giving their opinions without maybe other people seeing what they're writing and feeling bad, or I don't know how to put it.
Yeah. All right. So thank you so much, Adenike, for that. That is the main reason why you don't put your name. You want people to be honest with what they've put there. If you say we should put our name, if I have anything that I'm not, anything I need to be honest about, and one of your Scrum values is honesty. Okay. So if you feel your team has not matured to a place where we can take on, I won't say criticism. I would say if you feel that your team has not gotten to that maturity where you can easily make comments without somebody feeling affected or slighted about it, then that is the reason why the names are not put. I know the Scrum Master was saying who put this there and all that, but in a situation where a posting is vague, is not clear enough, yeah, yes, the Scrum Master can ask to say, oh, sorry, can the person that puts this post there give clarity on what has been posted? But in a situation where a posting is clear enough, and the retro is an interactive session. That is where we come together to inspect and adapt. To say this is the way we've worked and everything. How do we improve on our process or our progress going forward, so that in the next sprint we'll do better and we will get better, going forward. So that's the main reason for honesty purpose and for everyone putting the post there to be free. So I can put a post in and the Scrum Master is saying who put it there, and I don't say anything. If I feel it's clear enough, they should be able to get the message and pass it, across enough. I might not say anything. It's not the right thing to do, because we should be able to interact and we should be able to receive feedback from each other, freely, because we're a team. I hope that is clear.
Yes, thank you very much. Thank you.
All right. Okay, so quickly, let's go to Ginika now, so that Ginika, your question.
Good afternoon. Thank you so much. Quickly, my questions are: one, with respect to sprint retrospect, how many hours is that? How long does it take? Then the second one is I noticed the team wireframe. There was a lot of text there, but we were taught that the text should be minimal and all of that. So my question is, do we need to put text so much and not represent them by pictures? And the last one is Forgive me, I wrote it down. I'm just trying to get it. The last one is, yes, sprint retrospect. I heard the SM mention is for team and PO, but while they were going through their routine, they never mentioned PO. So I'm like, okay, is it that we should assume that the PO is not around or something? So that's my question.
I thank you so much, Ginika, for that. Okay, the retro one. Sorry, can you check the retro one again? I was writing the other ones you're reading, and I met the first retro that you made mention of. Your first question, Ginika.
Yeah, how long does sprint retrospective take?
Okay, so Ginika, answer that question. How long do you think it takes?
Well, they didn't take long though.
Yeah, because we've been able to. Do you know what we did? We compressed 14 days into 2.5 hours. I'm giving you that assignment. Before we finish all your questions, Ginika, research. How long does a retro meeting take? Or does anybody want to answer that question?
It should probably last between 1 or 2 hours, if I'm correct.
For how many week of sprint?
For 2 weeks of sprint.
Okay. Thanks, Adenike. Is that Adenike?
No, it's not me.
That's
Olu
Alama.
Oh, all right. Thanks. I'm not seeing who is talking. That's why. So please bear with me. Okay. Does anybody want to also give that a go? How many weeks?
I think like
I think
it's correct.
It's 45 minutes
2
for
to 3 hours
1 week.
in a month.
Is it 4 weeks of sprint to 4 weeks of sprint to 2 hours? If it's 4 weeks of sprint.
Okay, so and then if it's 2 weeks of sprint, how many hours are you looking at?
1 hour.
Okay.
Well, sometimes it depends on the team. Some people can really talk to a lot. If you have those kind of people in your team, they will talk and take your time. But if you have people that don't talk, just straight to the point, it shouldn't last more than 1 hour. Sometimes it might be
exactly
an hour.
All right, and a follow on to that, is the retro a time boxed meeting?
No, it's not a time box meeting.
Your retro is not time boxed.
Oh, it's not a time box, no.
Okay.
It is time boxed.
It's time boxed. Retro is time boxed
Yeah,
because you don't want to go over.
They put a time box on it, but they put a time on it, but sometimes you don't.
According to your Scrum guide, is it
Yes, according to this
Scrum event?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So somebody, I don't know who now, said some people talk too much and things like that. Once your meeting is time boxed, as a Scrum Master, you have to make sure that you stay within the time limit for that meeting, or else you will have a situation where team members are being discouraged to attend meetings when it's getting too long. Okay, so I think we took that Ginika, and then the other one you were talking about is the stories, the user stories themselves, that they shouldn't be full of text. I don't understand that one. If you can clarify.
Wireframe had so many texts. And I remember when we were being taught, it said we should limit it with just pictures and text scribbles, but not write anything, sentence.
Okay, all right. Does anybody wants to give clarification on that? Any other BA wants to talk on it? Yeah, do we have any other BA that wants to talk on it? Why do you think in the wireframe the text were positioned where they were in the wireframe? What was the reason for it? Do we have a BA mentor that wants to take that? Any BA mentor on call that wants to take that question? Hello, no one?
I'm a QA. Can I give that a go?
Okay, please do.
Yeah, so it was just the acceptance criteria and the additional info that is supposed to be displayed on the wireframe.
Okay. Sorry, who answered the question?
Rexford.
Okay.
Yes. Hello, Moji.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm actually on. I'm actually outside my place, so because of noise, so I just need to respond to that. Yeah. When the instructor or facilitator that trains talk about not putting so much words there, is actually talking about where a situation whereby you have probably words that are much in paragraph. Like this, the one on the wireframe is actually like a welcome message that is just going to be on the sliding banner. You understand, as it is. So it's just not like much words, like you having a block of sentence. In such situation where you have a block of sentence, you can that are designed, that are icons on the wireframe on Balsami that you can use to represent those words, and then you put that in the additional information. Like on this side, there are just a welcome message that maybe just one sentence. I think one sentence is still very much okay if you want to include that. And then likewise in the home, all those ones are necessary, like the header features that are there, functionality that are there, the home, the contact, the about, all those ones are necessary. And then likewise on the footer as well too. So I think the information there is just a statement to speak about what is going to be on the sliding banner. That's just it. I believe that clears your questions. Thank you.
I thank you so much, Gbemileke, for that. Ginika, are you clear on that?
Kind of.
Hi, Ginika.
Yeah, kind of. Because
Kind of.
it's
Okay.
yeah, I'm not really 100% certain.
Okay.
Because
So, yeah.
there are really much text there. I mean sentences in that wireframe. So I got kind of like, okay, said you shouldn't do this, but this is this. Yeah.
Okay. So, since you're still sharing your
Yeah,
screen, can you
yeah.
go back to
Sorry,
the
please.
wireframe? Let's have a look at it.
Sorry.
Moji, do you want me to go back to the wireframe?
Please, let's go back to the wireframe so that we see what Ginika is saying. Yeah.
Okay.
All right. While we're waiting for that to be done, let's take your last question, Ginika, regarding retro. Sorry, could you take the last question again for me?
Yeah, the essay mentioned the ritual is for PO and team with herself, you understand? But while they were playing along, to relax themselves, never mentioned the PO's name or, called the attention. So I'm like, okay, I want to believe the PO is absent, or I don't know. Yeah.
Yes. Okay. So let me take that because I was the one that played the PO, and then I didn't participate because I was dealing with admin answering questions that were kept, no, not answering them, but feeding back on people that were asking, sending direct questions to me. So yes, in situations, most situations, your PO is meant to be part of the retro. And in some situations, some PO are not part. So I'll give you an example of both. So some PO join the retro. They're able also to give their own um, um, their postings on how we work. And remember, it's a Scrum Teams meeting, and the PO is part of the Scrum team. Okay, and so they participate in the retro also, give opinion. How did we think we work? How can we, we're improving our progress. We're improving our process. So if part of our posting has to do with something that we think that the stakeholders, we need improvement from the stakeholders aspect of things, the PO needs to be there then, because that the PO is the intermediary between the team and the stakeholders. So yes, your PO has to be there. So and that is a good observation from you to notice that the PO wasn't mentioned at all, and then the PO didn't participate. So it shows that you were keeping a good eye throughout the event. So yes, the PO is meant to be part of that meeting. And also assuming that, okay, I didn't hear the PO and all that, could it be that in this particular retro, the PO was not available? Could also be, that's you being an advocate for me, helping me, defending me while I wasn't in the retro. So thanks for that. But yeah, the PO was meant to be there. Thank you for that. Okay, so yes, this is the story you're talking about, isn't it?
Yes.
Okay, please, can you maximize it? You know, the arrow beside the acceptance criteria. Yeah. Okay,
Yes.
so yeah. All right. So on the banner, on the banner, you can have the overlay. That's the welcome message that Bemileke was talking about. Okay, and then you have request, brochure, and then you have read more, read more, read more. And then you have the header menus up there. Yeah. So this wireframe is the wireframe for the whole landing page. Every section of the landing page, and those texts, like Bemileke said, they are um they are feature design, which is the goal of that particular sprint. This is the design, this is how we want the whole landing page to look like. And like Bemileke said, they are short, you know, like one sentence or thereabout, or one word and all that text. So they are not overlaid like you're having paragraphs, like 4 paragraphs, 5 paragraphs, then you would be talking about having too much text. But this is not seen as being too much text, because the developer needs this skeletal design in order to know where to put what on the website. The keywords also needed in order to know, okay, so when we test it, it's meant to be here. So what your wireframe really is doing is just giving you a visual representative of the description and the acceptance criteria that has been written in that story.
Acceptance criteria based on what the PO has provided, right? Yes.
Clearer now.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Thank
Did
you.
you get me?
Sorry, I didn't get.
I said the wireframe is based on the acceptance criteria provided by the PO.
Yes, which
on the project.
Yes.
Exactly.
And that would have been approved by your PO. So even the
All right,
wireframe would have been approved by the PO before it goes into
Yes.
the, so
All right. Thank you so much. I'm grateful.
you're welcome. You're welcome. All right. So let's quickly go into another question in the chat. Then we'll come to you, Adura. Okay. So bear with me. Let me just quickly read the next question in the chat. Okay, so the next question in the chat is from Rose, and I think that has been answered when we're talking about the effort number, if it's in weeks, days, or hours, okay, or in sprints. So that has been answered already, so I wouldn't go into that. Rose, I hope we're clear on that. Hi, Rose, are you still there? Okay, let's go on. Okay, so quickly we'll pick your own question, Adura, and then we'll go to the chat again.
Yes, thank you. My question is about the retrospective. So I noticed at the end when they chose the one they were going to add onto the board again. So is it for them to prompt them for the next sprint? Have they been able to manage the time? So they chose one about time. They chose one about, is it the communication? So are they going to check against the next sprint? Have we been able to manage the time? Have we been able to manage the communication? Because I'm thinking that's a backlog. Is it not, or the board? Is it not just for what the PO is supposed to put there? Is it not just for the PA to put his own I don't know the name to use, but do you get what I mean? Is it not just for the PA to put stuff there?
Yeah, your product backlog is managed by the PO, and like you said, that's where we put all the requirements that the PAs are going to work on, turn to user stories, and then put the wireframes, make sure it meets the definition of ready for the PA. You're right. But if you have an action plan, you carry out an action plan and you don't put it on your board in order to see the traceability of it and to remember when you go into the next sprint, because you want to carry out those action plans in the next sprint. That's why you're making those action plans. You're all agreeing that, okay, in the next sprint, we want to improve this particular action and we're putting it in. There is every possibility that you won't remember to do it. So for visibility purposes, is why is put into your backlog. And for visibility purposes is why you commit it into sprint. So again, it depends on each team how you want to work, but it's a good practice to put it in your backlog. Like I said, traceability, you want to see it. How did we commit to it? Are we doing it? So whosoever owns that particular action, when they were doing it, they would have put, okay, so is it the SM that is meant to, time box, make sure the meetings are time box. We're not running the meeting too much. We're not overlapping when it comes to the meeting and all that. The Scrum Master wants to remember that in the next sprint as to go along and to be able to say, okay, this action plan, we've been able to achieve it. Because the next retro you're coming into, you want to deal with matters arising. Have we been able to action the action plan we put in place? Were we able to, carry it out during the sprint that we've just completed before we go into everything else that we need to do, or the new retro that we're going to? And that's why they're putting it on the board.
Okay, thank you. Second question. The Scrum Masters are unable to do anything if the BAs have not set up any backlog cards, right? Because you won't be able to create your capacity, you won't be able to create anything if those stories haven't been created by the BAs. Is that correct?
And does somebody wants to take that question? What do you think? Does the story disturb the Scrum Master from going ahead to set up the sprint? Anybody? Is that what you're asking, Adura?
Yes. Set up the stream, set up the capacity, something like that. Yes.
Yeah. Okay, so let's crack this. Scrum Masters, does that disturb you?
In my own understanding, I don't think it disturbed the Scrum Masters, because the reason why I said this, I'm not so sure if I'm right. Even before the BA started populating the user stories into the backlog, the Scrum Masters have already started working on the board by creating the
Okay, you're breaking, Bolanle.
board, making sure that there is I'm a Scrum Master in this training. Our skills metrics, our team charter, creating the board for it to be ready for the team to work. So while you are doing that, in this sprint in zero, what I have learned is while we are doing all those things, the BA2 are gathering their own requirements. So I believe it's not stopping the Scrum Masters to do their own part as a Scrum Masters on the board. Thank you.
All right, can I also answer?
Oh, okay. I thought it was Digi. Sorry, Jibril. Yeah, go on. Go ahead.
Yes. I think the earlier speakers got to try, but at the same time, if BA failed to create the story at the right time, it does affect the activity of the Scrum Master, in the sense that, because I believe when it is created, the PO move the story from BA done to the approved, and when it's happy with the stories, it's not his Scrum Master that move it. He does that, and once he's happy with that, then those are the stories that the Scrum Master will begin to act on. So if it doesn't get to that level, then it automatically, like what will happen on Monday now, if BA does not create story for Scrum Master to act on, is going to be a failure, nothing to act on.
Okay, follow on your question, Jibril. Does Scrum Masters act on stories?
Does what?
Does the Scrum Master act on stories? When you say they act on stories, act how? What do they do on stories?
What the Scrum Master do is when the BA create the story, then the Scrum Master, the sprint is made based on what is in the approved column, based on the story that have been created.
Okay, so okay, I don't want to say the word. Okay, so anybody else can answer. You just not Jubril alone or Adura alone. Okay, so what I want to bring out is okay, what happens when stories are not when we don't have stories from the BAs? What happens?
There's no story to commit to sprints.
There are no stories to commit to sprint. So what activity, what Scrum event
Sprint plan, sprint planning, yes.
So all the events are affected because that means there's no story, like you said, Adenike, there's no story to commit to sprint. Okay. So Adura, that doesn't disturb your sprint, setting up your sprint board because you don't need your stories to set up your sprint board. You can set up your board and everything, but like Adenike said, everything you set up, we won't be able to use because there is no story will commit into sprint. So part of your role, again, like it's just to have clarity, yeah, of what you need to do as Scrum Master. So part of what Jibril said is part of your responsibility is ensuring that there are stories that would need to go into the sprint. So this is part of your role when you're when you're doing your sprint planning. You want to check a week before your next sprint that there are stories in BA done, there are stories in approved column. If there are none, you're getting in touch with your BA to say what's going on. Don't we have any stories that are, completed? Have you gotten in touch with the PO to come and approve these stories and all that? That's part of your responsibility as a Scrum Master. So you don't really do anything with the story. You don't work on the story. You're just checking, you're a leader of the team, and you're just checking that the process, best practice is in place. The process is being followed the way it should, and nothing is delaying, or nothing is going to cause a delay or an impediment to a particular Scrum event being carried out based on a particular role member not having done what needs to be done. So you're having your sprint planning now on Monday. All Scrum Masters expect you to check your board to make sure everything is in place, everything is set. There are stories in maybe Dev done, there are stories, sorry, not Dev done, BA done, or stories even in approved. So you're not seeing stories in approved, you're checking with your BAs. So when are you getting in touch with the POs to come and approve the stories that needs to go into sprint? So like I said, that doesn't disturb you setting your sprint, setting up what you need to set up in order to, make sure things are in place towards that. Is that clear, Adura?
Yes, it is clear. Yeah, because I was looking under the sprint, the backlog and the sprints. There's the capacity. Would I? Because I feel a little bit stuck going on because I can't see any stories on the board. So I'm thinking, am I meant to, as the SM, are we meant to go ahead to populate the capacity if there's no stories on board? How are we gauging it? How are we measuring it? So like, we don't know
your capacity is just asking your team members, this sprint we're going into, do you have any holiday? How many hours per sprint? How many hours per day do you want to work on? You were in the capacity meeting that we did, isn't it?
Yes.
And all that are the pre activity you carry out before your sprint planning. Okay. So, and the capacity, what you're getting with your capacity is to say that for this sprint we're going into, this is the capacity of my team. You know that and you keep that. So that by the time we do the sprint planning, and the PO is telling us to take in 14 stories, and you know that, okay, with the capacity we have, we won't be able to do 14 stories. You're now checking with, you're not micromanaging that event. Remember, you're a facilitator, so you're just giving them facts to say, okay, so our capacity for this sprint is we have maybe 50% capacity. That information, you've provided it for the developers and the testers, and let them now commit to the number of stories they feel they can do based on the capacity that you provided for them. But if you've not done your capacity planning, getting your capacity before that sprint planning, you won't be able to inform them. And if they are not informed, they can overcommit to story to work or undercommit to work.
Okay, thank you. You've answered my question.
All right, thank you so much for that. So if that's all your questions, Adura, yeah?
Yes, yes,
Okay,
thank you.
I'm just going to go to the chat and pick the next question we have in the chat. Bear with me. Just trying to go through to get it. Okay, so the next question is talking about box triage. What does it mean? One of the keywords while they were doing the retro did made mention of box triage. Okay, so what does a box triage mean? Does anybody want to give it a try? Google is your friend again. Does anybody want to give it a try? What
Yeah,
by box triage?
triage is about prioritizing bugs and then choosing the ones that you want to work on a particular in a particular order. So you're putting maybe you look at high severity ones, low severity ones, and according to the sprint or whatever your sprint goal is, you want to choose the bug that you need to fix. That will, when you fix it, it will work well for that particular sprint goal. So obviously you pick those ones, you put them on top, and there are some that you have to then move to back to the backlog to another that you have to then fix on another one. So it's basically about prioritizing the bugs that you want to fix.
Okay, so thank you. Jeff, just a follow on. Where when you say severity, for people like me, that I'm not high IT person and I'm not technical. When you say high severity, low severity, what are the things we're looking at? What are those severities so that people just have a better understanding?
So severity is the impact of the bug on the application. So how bad? So in a layman language, I would say how bad is that bug on that particular product? So if it's let's say for example, somebody wants to log in, and if they are not able to log in at all, that means they cannot continue to do the other test, which is a blocker. But there might be a situation whereby they can still log in, but maybe they are logging in with let's assume you say you shouldn't accept special characters, or the password is accepting special characters, and then they are able to log in with special character. You know that because that is within login, that would be a high severity one because it's got to do with security. However, it's not a blocker. So in that situation, those ones will be on top. You prioritize them on top first, and then you make sure those ones are fixed quickly. And most of the time, it depends on the PO that will determine what will be on top and what will be fixed and what will not be fixed.
Okay, thank you so much, Dear, for that. I think that answers the question. I think that was I don't know who asked the question, but it was posted by DG. So I think that gives clarity to that what JF has done. So let's go to the next question. Adora, I'm going to put your hand down because I want to believe we've answered your question so that I don't come back to you. All right, Adenike, let's go to your question.
Hello, thank you, Muji, for all. Yeah, my question is regarding this retrospective. Yeah, so when the action items are moved to the board, so is it the same process like when you write your test cases? Are you going to write test cases on this on the action items? Are you going to run it the way you would normally run your test? And then if for any reason you are not able to achieve the goal of that, like for instance, communication, and there's still no communication within the team, and are you going to actually like fail it? I don't know how you're going to, what you do. Are you going to raise a bug? How does it affect that particular sprint? Does it, like normal way you have a ticket or a PBI and then you take it to UAT, is that the same process? What do you really do with the ticket?
Okay, thank you so much, Adenike, for that. Adenike, what's your role?
Scrum.
You're Scrum Master. Okay, thank you. Does any Scrum Master wants to take that, or anybody really, not just the Scrum Masters? Because it's a workshop, we're all interacting together. Does anybody want to take that? What happens to an action that we've brought from retro into the new sprint we're going into? How do we work with it? Anyone? Or anyone wants to give it a go? What do you think?
Hi. Again, I think it's going to be down to the level of severity again. The fact that it was born from previous script, previous sprint to the current sprint. again, it depends on how urgent and level of severity in terms of priority. It might take priority over the current activities in the current sprint or the retrospective sprint, but I think it's down to the severity and the PO or probably the head of Scrum. They might make that decision or make that call to say, look, obviously it's been moved from the previous one to this one. So there's a reason for it. Obviously they ask the questions, and depending on how important it is to the business, then I think that's where it would sit. And that's what will give them, as in the SMs, the confidence of where to put it, which to do first. Or yeah, I think that might be the answer.
Okay, thank you. That's Wumi, isn't it?
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay, all right. Scrum Masters, I want to ask Scrum Masters some questions. Your retro meeting, what do we do during the retro meeting? What are we doing during retrospective? Any Scrum Masters?
Yes,
Right.
this is Dele. So during the retro meeting, we're looking at what we did well during the previous sprint, what we didn't do so well, what we were able to accomplish, what we were not able to accomplish. So obviously the things that we were not able to accomplish, we have to move it into the next sprint. If that answers the question.
Yeah, it does. But what I'm looking at,
Can I?
okay,
Yeah.
Stan, go ahead.
I think with the Scrum retro, it's a way for us to inspect, to look at what we have done so far, how well we've done it, and where we can make improvements.
Okay, thanks, Stan. When you say that, is it in relation to development work or your process? What are you inspecting?
I'd say we're inspecting. I would say we're inspecting both.
Okay, so all right. When it comes to your retro, yeah, like Stan says, you're looking at both this particular development work or the work we've done in the sprint. How have we done it? How can we do better? So what you're actually doing in your retro is you're inspecting your process and your progress, best practices, your agile best practices. How have we been able to use the process, the Scrum process? You know, how have we been able to put it into use in this particular sprint that we've gone into? Okay, so you're not bringing in your requirements. If you check everything they did during the retro, there was no time when they made mention of the landing page looks like this and everything. No, they were talking about, did we collaborate very well? That's your process. Did we interact very well? That's your process. Was the meeting time box? That's your process. Do you understand? So they're not bringing in the story itself, because you've worked on the story, but what we're looking is, how have we worked as a team? How did we work? How did we achieve what we wanted to achieve during the sprint? Do you understand? So your retro is looking at your best practice, your process, and the progress at which you've done what you need to do, and you are improving on that, you know, going into the next sprint. So your action plan are improvements on your process and your progress, not on the development work that you worked on. Okay, so there won't be testing or development work going on in the action. If you look at the action they took in, they took in action of making sure that the meeting is time boxed going forward. You're not going to develop that. It's not part of the software development. You understand? But it's part of your process. It's part of your progress. So there won't be development work on time box, because you can't develop time box on the software you're developing. And the testers won't be testing time box. Like I said earlier on, you're taking that story into sprint for traceability purposes, so that we don't forget that we're supposed to improve that process. So if that process is, like we said, it will be assigned to somebody. There's somebody that needs to action that. And if it has been put to the Scrum Master to do, to say, okay, so we notice maybe our meetings are not time boxed. We're staying too long in meetings. A meeting that is meant for 15 minutes, we're using maybe 20 or 30 minutes to do it. The Scrum Master needs to know that I need to take conscious efforts to make sure that meetings are time boxed. That doesn't mean some meetings won't overrun, but you just want to make sure going forward that those meetings are time boxed. And that's why that story is taken in. So that by the time that is done throughout the sprint, she takes it to done. And that doesn't mean that forever in all the other sprints till you finish that project, you won't still have an issue where the meeting will still overlap the time box. It's a process, remember. We're improving it. It's a continuous improvement. It doesn't stop once. So it might come up again, but we keep improving until we get to that place where, we can make sure that all the meetings are properly time boxed, if not exactly to time, as close to it as possible. So we're improving, and I'm just using that time box one as an example because that was one of the examples that we used during the retro that we had. There could be other ones also. So with your retro, you're trying to improve continuously. It's not a one-time thing, like I said, but continuously improve your process and progress as you go along, and make sure that you're practicing, you're putting in place agile best practice. Okay. I hope that answers that question. I can't remember who brought the question now, but I hope that answers.
Yes, it does. Thank you, Moji. Thank you.
All right, okay. I think that's the only question you asked, isn't it? I'm not sure.
Yes, because the other question would have come out from your answer, but that kind of answered everything.
Okay, all right. Thank you. All right, let me quickly check the chat and then I'll come to Lee. Bear with me. I'm just trying to quickly look at the question. Okay, so the next question coming from the chat, this is going to be an interesting one. It says, it's from T, and it says, who decides how long a sprint should be? Okay, so I'm throwing that up to everyone. Who decides the duration of the sprint? Anyone?
So the organization.
Okay, Rexford said it's the organization. Who else?
I think the team.
Okay, Jubril said the team. Who else?
I think it's Scrum Master.
Okay.
Product owner and Scrum Masters.
The organization.
Okay. All right.
I think it depends on the project on ground too.
During the planning, the Scrum Master put the project on the board and select if we are running, for example, if we are running 2-week sprint, we'll select today, which is 28, and then go down to maybe on the 10th or something. So the Scrum Master decide.
Stakeholder and team.
I think the PO and the team can give feedback based on their evaluation of the project.
Okay, so Ed, quickly let me pick on Ed. Ed, you said what Ed what you're describing is the Scrum Master imputing the date, the 2-week date, but who decides that it's going to be a 2-week sprint? I think
the PO, it depends on the stories that the PO has provided to say, oh, we want this to be done. So if it's a story that there are times that stories will be so much that we can't do it within a 2-week sprint, and they want it to be 3-week sprint because there's a particular feature they want to deliver. So in that situation, the PO will be the one to say, this is what we want based on what the stakeholders want, and then the Scrum Master will then make sure that those stories are well calculated and see if he's got capacity to then put them in that sprint.
Hello?
Hi, go ahead.
Yeah, I said the team earlier on because I believe they have to look at their capacity, their strength with the commitment of the Scrum Master now saying this is the capacity, this is the strength of the team, and this is how long we can go with this sprint.
Okay. I think
Hello.
we're looking at it from different perspective. Yes. Somebody wants to say something?
Yes, I think it's going to be the team too, together with the stakeholder. Once they already know the period of for the project to be done, then it is already committed in the hand of the Scrum Master. Scrum Master now determines the duration of each sprint, because they will work hand in hand with the stakeholder to know, okay, we are the total period for this project is or for this job or work done to be done is maybe a month, and they can say, okay, because that's their jurisdiction, they can say, okay, each sprint for this should cover maybe a week sprint to cover the whole project for a month. So I think it will be Scrum Master together based on information from the stakeholder.
Okay, thank you so much, Olamide, for that. Let me ask follow-on questions to that. The sprint, because I was hearing, if you feel that this sprint you can't do 2 weeks, you can extend it to 3 weeks. The sprint length, is it time box? Your sprint
Yes.
duration, is it time box?
Yes.
So in a situation where we can't finish what we've committed into sprint, can we extend the sprint?
No.
Okay.
No, you can't.
All right, we've gotten that sorted out. So in the issue of, okay, sorry, before I go ahead, do we have any of the mentors that want to answer that question? Mentors buddies, anyone want to chip in on that?
Sorry, please, can I quickly ask before you go on?
Okay, go on, Abdul.
On the just utter statement that we cannot extend a sprint if the task was not concluded. Did I get that right, please?
Yes, you did.
Okay. So what will happen if you have not completed a particular I think you should be able to conclude on a particular sprint before you can go ahead. And so if the time given was not enough, why should we not extend it?
Okay, so anyone wants to take that question?
Yes,
yes.
What happens is that if you don't finish the user, if you're not able to complete the user stories committed to a certain sprint, then you have to move them over to the next sprint. You cannot extend the sprints.
All right, thanks, Dilly, for that. Abdul, did you get that?
Okay, I get that. Thank you.
All right, thank you, thanks. Okay, so the regarding the issue of who decides the length of the sprint. Okay, so that decision is made between the business, the PO, and the Scrum Master during planning, not the sprint planning now, during the initial planning when that project was received. When you were planning, when you were doing the project on the project planning level, that is when that decision is being made. That's when they look at what suitable framework, what is the suitable framework for this particular project that we want to do. Is it going to be Scrum? Is it going to be Kanban? That will be chosen. And that is when the sprint duration, the length of the sprint is also decided. So it's not a thing that the Scrum Master independently can decide on. It's not something that the team members can decide on. It's a collaborative decision between the business, the PO, and the Scrum Master. Yeah, are we clear on that?
Michael, please.
Hello.
Yeah, thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you so much. All right, so I'm going to come to Liz. Liz, your question.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you very much. I have 3 questions. My first question is, who determines, is it the project that determines how many people are going to be working on it? Like how many Scrum Masters, how many QAs, BAs are going to be on the project? That's the first one. And is it the PO that chooses the people he or she wants in their project, or who chooses people? And the third one is, earlier on you said if you can't finish a sprint, it goes on to the next sprint. Won't that overlap, or how am I going to say it? Won't it disturb your next sprint? What if it makes you how do I say it? Your new sprint, it goes onto it and you're not able to finish that one. Would you keep passing it onto each sprint? Those are my 3 questions, please.
All right, thank you so much. I'm hot with all the questions coming. All right, let's take Lee's first question. Who determines how many team members, Scrum team, the formation of the team, the number of members that we have? Who determines it? Does anybody want to give that a go? Anyone?
I think it's the organization that employs people.
Okay. All right. Was that Daniel?
Yes.
All right,
Yes.
thanks. Who else? Please, when you want to answer the question, just your name first, because then that helps us to know each other more, isn't it? So your name first, and then you answer the question. Thanks. All right. Who else wants to give that a go?
Hi, my name is Tommy. I think so it depends on the stream. If, for example, you need a BA to be the BA manager or the hiring manager that will make that information known and do the recruiting with the help of HR.
Okay. Thanks, Tommy, for that. Anybody else wants to give it a go?
Josh.
Hi, Josh.
Yeah, all right. I think in addition to what the last person just said now, usually the Scrum Master or maybe the project lead or whatever, they would have made arrangements to know who the test manager is and the development lead. And then those ones will be responsible to form their own team. They will decide based on the scope of the project to say, okay, we are going to need performance tester, we are going to need automation tester, we are going to need some QA analysts and stuff like that. Or if we have to need we need back-end developers or front-end developers. So the leads will make that decision and then they will table it in front of the Scrum Master, and then obviously the product owner too will be aware of it.
Thank you so much, Josh, for that. Okay, so I think Josh nailed it on. Hi, Kende.
I'm sorry. Hi, Kende. Sorry, my name is Kende. Pink is the BA manager, but no, I'm not sure if I'm right or if I'm correct. But I personally think he's the product, the BA manager, obviously, because he's going to have to be aware of what the product is before he's going to have to give out the information. So I think he's the BA manager.
Okay, so you're saying it's the BA manager that determines the number of. Okay, so I think, yeah, thanks, Kende, for that. Thank you for your response. Before I see anything, does any of the mentors want to, talk about that? Mentors? Do we have anyone who wants to say anything regarding that before we go ahead?
Hello, can I say something, please? Titi Lola.
Yes. Yes. Hi.
I think it depends on what you are trying to the end product of what you need, and the number of people that is required for that product to be done. And also according to what the organization or the product owner requires. So that is what will make you make up your team.
Okay. Thanks.
And I'm sorry, just in addition to what I said, budget and time factor is also something that would determine it as well.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you so much. So from what Titi said and from what Josh also said, there are some factors that need to come in. But what Lee said is who determines how many team members, a project needs. So with all those factors that you've talked about that needs to come in, cost, time, the budget, and what exactly is needed, the scope of the project itself, that is that we need to put into consideration to know who do we need: back-end tester, front-end tester, back-end developer, front-end developer, and all that and everything and all that. Looking at all those factors now, let's now decide who now then do you think should determine the number of team members?
Hello, hello.
Hi, Anna.
Yeah, I think it's a stakeholder that determines this thing, if I'm not mistaken. I don't know.
Okay. All right. When we say the stakeholder, let's be specific. The product owner is part of the stakeholder. The Scrum team is also a stakeholder in the. So which of the stakeholders? The client, the owner of the business.
Yes, the owner of the business, because he knows how big the project is. So he must have had experience before, I believe.
Okay. All right, Titilola.
I want to believe is the Scrum Master, because he will know what is required, what is being needed for that project to go on. The team that needs to come together for this project to meet the ends meet and the need. So I think it's a Scrum Master, because he'll be able to say, okay, we need this person to be able to do this. We need that person to be able to do this. And we need so number of time or so amount of money, depending on what the project or the product they want is. Okay. So it's a Scrum Master.
Okay, thank you everyone for your contribution. It's not one person that determines the number or the composition of the team members. It's a collaboration of your Scrum Master, your PO. Okay, so the person that understands that project more than anybody is the product owner. Okay, they know what the stakeholders want. They are the voice of the stakeholder. They are the one bringing the expectation, the perspective of the stakeholders or the end users concerning that particular project. So they definitely would be collaborating also with the Scrum Master, and also the factor of the budget. Yeah, the product owner already knows the budget due to, like I said, the initial planning that has been put in place and that has been done to say, okay, if we feel we need 3 automation testers, we need 4 manual testers, we need 4 developers and all that. The PO will be able to say, based on the budget in place, we won't be able to, make that composition. And then they can take it to the stakeholders, the owner of the product, to say that based on the complexity of what you want us to build, this and this and this and this and this and this is what we need. So composition of that team is the collaboration work of the stakeholders, the PO, and also the Scrum Master. So it's not one person, you understand, doing it. It's a composition, a collaboration of the 3 of them coming together during the initial project planning to determine the composition of the team based on the scope, like somebody said earlier on, and the budget of the project. So that's the first one. Liz, I hope we're clear on that. Hi, Liz. Okay, so we'll go to the second question. She says, who appoints the team members? So who wants to give that a go? Who appoints the team members? Does anybody want to give that a go? I want to believe everybody's still hearing me.
I can hear you.
Okay, yeah.
Team members are hired by the organizations.
Hello?
The team members are hired by the organization.
When you say, okay, all right, when you say that's management, isn't it?
Yeah.
Okay, all right. Thanks for that, Stan. Who else? Who else wants to give that a go? Or are we all agreeing with Stan? Hello?
I think it's done by the company, and since the Scrum Master knows the level of the work to be done, they can now decide on the composition of the people that will do the work. My suggestion, where I see it.
Okay, you think it's the Scrum Master, yeah?
I said the company will decide on the people that work on the projects. But since the Scrum Master, the PO, all of them, they know, I mean, the level of the work to be done, they now decide on how many people to be involved to call
Okay.
into the projects. That's where I see it.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much, Yemi, for that. Does anybody else want to
No,
give it a
yeah. Hi, good afternoon, everyone. My name is
hi?
Yemi. I think it's the PO and the Scrum Master. My reason is one of our meetings, they said different DAs are appointed for different roles in the company, in the organization. I might be appointed for something different, another person might be appointed for something different. So if there's a new project that is being brought into the organization, I'm sure during the meeting within the development team, when they're meeting, that's the PO and the Scrum Masters, they know where everybody's strength is and who is to handle this, who handle this, who is supposed to do this. So I think it's the PO and the Scrum Master, depending on the project, like I said.
Okay. Thank you so much, Olayemi, for that. Okay, so yes, I think everyone is,
Olamide, okay.
yes, Olamide, if you want to, so go
All
ahead.
right. I think it depends on the volume of the project, of the product, or the company. It will not involve the PO of a particular for a particular project, and the Scrum Master for that same product.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm sorry, can the person talk in mute, please? If you're not answering a question, please let's stay mute.
So sorry.
Recording. Yeah, thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thanks for that.
So it depends on the PO assigned for a particular product together with the Scrum Master assigned for the product.
Okay,
And,
yeah.
and also based on the volume of the company.
Okay. All right, thank you so much. We've all chipped in, good answers. So for the PO and the Scrum Master to appoint the team members, definitely they're working for the organization. So if you had said the organization is the one that does it, yeah, but the whole organization doesn't come to do it. They have to pick a particular member representative that would go and appoint. So that's why at interviews you have either Scrum Masters or lead Scrum Masters in the organization being the one um, um, interviewing you during an interview. It could also be the product owner that you will be working with in a particular what is it called, in a particular team that would be interviewing you. So they are the ones that appoint. The appointment is done by the PO and also the Scrum Masters. And at times, there are times when, we're getting to a final stage in the application process, you do have some key management staff coming in also, yeah, to interview you. There have been situations where directors have come in at the last stage of interview, to also interview a new team member. Yeah, so the PO, the Scrum Masters representing the organization, the management, yeah, comes to interview the team members. So they are the ones that appoint the team members because they are the ones that know what they want and what needs to be worked on and the skills that is required for the project that needs to be done. Okay, so thank you for that. And then the last question is spillover. Won't it disturb the next sprint? Can somebody talk about that also? Do we have anybody that wants to talk about that? If we have a spillover from sprint 1 going into our sprint 2, how does that affect our sprint 2? Anyone? How do you think it affects our sprint 2?
I'd say it affects it because the deliverables from that sprint, from sprint 1, still need to be achieved, still need to be met. So if they are being carried over, that means more effort will have to be put in sprint 2 to make sure that these objectives are met.
Okay, all right. So thank you so much, Stan, for that. Anyone else? Olamide?
Yeah, Olamide.
Yes.
I think it will affect the time frame, the time factor for schedule for sprint 2, and the ingredients. I think I'm trying to use the language. I read about ingredients from Jenkins. So I think it will affect the time frame and the requirements for sprint 2.
Okay.
Then,
Anyone
then
else?
the time to deliver the sprint 2.
Okay. Do we have anybody else wanting to add more to that?
This is Ed.
Hi, Ed.
I think you look at it this way. When the dev team are, committing to tickets that they'll be able to accomplish from when they are picking from the product backlog. So they'll pick the ones they'll be able to finish in that sprint, and they'll consider those other tickets that are spillover, so that they'll factor it into sprint 2, so that they won't overcommit into sprint 2.
Okay. So, all right. Thank you for that. So, in a situation where you didn't finish, you have a spillover, let me put it that way, from your sprint 1 to your sprint, going into what needs to be done in your sprint 2. Okay. It's not, if it's constant, if it's something that is always happening, is a bad pattern. Let me take that out of the way. But it's not as if it can't happen, because when it comes to software development, is an uncertain environment. Anything can happen. You can have a breakdown that is not as a result of anything you've done, might be out of your hands. So you might have a spillover coming as a result of that. And until that spillover is dealt with, you might not be able to continue the stories that are being planned for your sprint 2. I'll give you an example. If registration and login is part of what you have to do in sprint 1, and that has not been completed, some features that you need to develop in your sprint 2 that are dependent on registration and login might not be able to get done until you resolve, or sorry, not resolve, you complete those registration and login. So in a situation where the spillover is dependent on being completed before all the other stories that are being planned for your sprint 2 goes in, definitely they take priority. What will happen is whatever you've planned for sprint 2 you might need to reduce what you're taking, again based on your capacity and what your velocity is saying. Now, having said that, let me also clarify that we didn't finish a particular story in sprint 1. Doesn't mean that it was 100% not finished, not completed. What percentage has been completed? Have we done it 50%? Have we done it 60, 80%? And it's just 20% remaining to be completed, in your sprint 2 that you're going into. Those are the things you factor in when you're going into your sprint. And that helps your sprint planning for your next sprint, to say that, okay, so we have some spillover from sprint 1. They have some effort on it already. Okay. How much of that effort has been carried out already while we're in sprint 1? That was what I meant by how many percentage completion on that particular story have you done? What do you have left? And there might be likelihood of a whole story that has not been touched at all, that you're taking in, having 100%, 100% work that needs to be done, that needs to be carried out on it. Also, remember that you're going into your sprint planning in the second sprint, where you're spilling over to with your PO. And that is where you negotiate with the PO. So these ones we need to do it. Remember, the PO has put things in the approved column. And while they were doing the demo, the Scrum Master did ask the PO to say that, are we looking at all the stories in the approved column going into the sprint? So we might have 20 stories in the approved column. They might have been approved. That doesn't mean it's all of them that are going into the sprint. Okay, and then the team is able to negotiate with the PO. In a situation where we have 2 stories that we're bringing from the previous sprint, let's say sprint 1 now, and the PO is planning that, okay, I want 10 stories to go into sprint 2. You're able to negotiate with the PO to say, we still have 2 that we've not finished from sprint 1, which you understand why we didn't do it. So are we able to, we won't be able to commit to, the 10 that you want us to take in, because then that would give us roughly maybe 12 stories, or maybe 11 and a half stories that we need to take in, looking at, like I said, the percentage of what is left to be done in a particular story. So once you know that is why your sprint plan is all about. What are we taking in? How are we going to work on it? That is what you're planning before you go into the sprint. And what I said earlier on, that if it's a practice that is continuous, every time you carry over, you spill over, you spill over, you spill over, you spill over, at the end, you, the Scrum Master, you're foreseeing a situation where the project timeline would be extended because of the spillover that we're having. So if the PO initially, when we're given the mandate and the requirement, says, oh, this project, I want it done within 2 months and all that, and we keep having spillover, which might not be only because we didn't finish what we need to do. There might be more requirements coming from the stakeholders and all that. You want in your report, Scrum Masters, you know what your report means. You want to highlight that in your report as a risk, that if we continue this way, we would extend that 2 months that you're expecting this story. And that would impact the budget. Yeah, and that will impact, like I said, the timeline, the target timeline that we're looking at to release that project. So those are the things that would, but definitely once it's spilled over, it's not as if it will disturb what you're supposed to take in. It just means that we're going to deliberate together on what goes in going forward, and not make it a practice. You see, why you have spillover at times is because you either overcommit, and like I said, it's not just overcommit alone. There can be other factors. Like I said, software development is an uncertain environment. Anything can happen. You can have a crash website. Your website can crash, and it takes a while before it has been rectified, or before it has been resolved. And that could eat into, the time you have to finish what you need to do. And that could affect the spillover that you are having. But as an agile team, agile is all about what? Responding to what? Responding to change, being ready, being flexible enough to adapt to change, to deliberate, to look at, okay, so what do we do in this situation? We're not rigid to say, oh, because this thing is spilling over and it's going to accept that, we can't take the spillover. No, you're an agile team. Agility comes into place. You're flexible. So this has happened. You collaborate together as a team with the PO. The PO is part of the team anyway, and then you collaborate together. How do we do it? How do we manage this going forward? I hope that's clear.
Thank you very much.
Yes, thank you very much. That's my question. But please, can I quickly ask, is it one PO that you have for every project, or you have different POs for every project, please?
Okay, you have one PO for one project. You can only have one PO for one project, but a PO can have multiple teams he's working on. So I, as a PO, I'm the only PO you will have in your Scrum team. Yes.
Okay.
But having said that, as a PO, I can have about 2 to 3 different projects that I'm overseeing.
Okay.
A particular project team, you have just one PO.
Okay. So if there's another project, there's another PO. Okay.
Yes, there will be another project, another PO, or that same PO can be overseeing 2 or 3 other projects. Yeah. But for your team, it's just one PO. You don't have 2 POs in your team.
Okay. Why I asked was because when you said if there's a spillover, the PO they will like speak to the other PO and not speak to the other PO. Like they will say, let's work on the project that there's a spillover. I was thinking, would the other PO agree that, okay, keep my own project, let's finish with that? That's why I asked if there's only one PO for every project. Well, thank you.
Yeah, it's just one thing. And when I said they deliberate, I'm talking about the Scrum team deliberating now. Scrum team comprises of your PO, your Scrum Master, your developer, your tester. Those are the people coming together to deliberate, not the Scrum, the PO and other POs.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Moji, sorry. Can I just ask with going back to the last question that you answered? I asked a question before about, let's say, a QA or a developer was not available for any reason, maybe due to sickness or got another job and left the company whatsoever. So the Scrum Master, because we're talking about collaboration, can the Scrum Master ask the other developers or the other QAs to take the user story that person was working on?
Okay, yes. If that other developer, if it's a developer that left, or other QA, if it's a QA that left, if they have the capacity within the sprint to do that. So I finished what I need to do. It's not the end of sprint yet. I still have time in my hand. Dele has left the meeting because of one thing or the other. Then Muji is able, I have the capacity, then I'm able to jump in and do finish up what Dele didn't finish. If I don't have the capacity and no other members of the team has the capacity to finish what Dele is doing, now we're going to come into our daily Scrum and look at the priority. The story Dele is working on that Dele couldn't finish before he left, does it have high priority than the one Muji is working on? If it has higher priority than what I'm working on, if it needs to be done, it's high priority, then I would suspend the one I'm working on in order to finish the one Dele is working on, because it takes priority higher than the one I am working on, and finish that. So that aspect is done during that, completed if possible during that sprint. And then it means that the one I'm working on that I've not been able to finish is the one that might spill over into the next sprint. Okay, so that's again what one of the importance of your daily Scrum, why you meet every day to give updates and then plan going ahead in the sprint.
Okay, thank you very much.
You're welcome, Dele.
Sorry, Moji, can I say one thing? Josh speaking.
Okay.
Yeah, I just want to probably add this. I know you've mentioned it that it's only one PO in a project, but I know in terms of Scrum, yes, it works that way. But organizations at times kind of differ. I've worked on a project where we have 5 POs on a project. It's a dynamic 365 project, and POs are assigned to different areas, like some on the customer engagement, some like on marketing and stuff. And they only handle the areas that they have been, and it's the same project, one same project, and they handle the different projects that put them on. And we only have 2 testers and one automation tester. But in terms of that, the testers, they work directly with any PO in that area. You just kind of look at the project. And when we are having meeting, we have meeting all together, all the 5 POs, the Scrum Master, everything. We are all together. Only one Scrum Master, but 5 POs. So I don't know if maybe Scrum allows it or not, but that's the setup of the organization.
Okay, sorry, can I say something on that? Sometimes I think I was discussing with the guys in Dynamics about this. Actually, Dynamics world is really, really dynamic as it can be, actually, because there are a lot of roles in there that you don't see in the fundamental Scrum principles. Actually, one of them is what you actually discuss here. For one way or the other, sometimes some people get this mix up with SME, that is subject matter expert, PO, and stakeholders, right? Contextually, you only need one PO, right? But in some cases, one PO might not be able to give you requirement or do the elicitation, so you bring some SME into the picture, right? That those guys that you're talking about will be kind of an SME in their own fields, right? So technically, you only need to speak to them when you need to talk about those particular part. Let's say is F&O, is customer engagement and everything. So you bring them in because it's their own specialized area, right, in that aspect. Yeah. So technically, you might call them pro owner, but not within the Scrum team. Do you get it now? I would want to say maybe they're actually like a stakeholder, or what's it called, subject matter expert. But in some theme, there are kind of a thin lines between these two, these roles actually. So sometimes some SME want to call themselves product owner because it makes sense, isn't it? It's kind of a good portfolio for them actually. So I would say, yeah, agile can be so agile as it can be, but that one is a peculiar situation. Yeah. And thanks for bringing that up, Josh.
I thank you so much, Deji, for that. You heard it from my boss, so I don't have anything to add to that again. Thank you so much for that.
Please, I want to ask a question.
Okay.
I think we need to round up now. So this yeah, one thing that the team is giving me feedback about is how our meeting kind of overrun actually. So I'm also taking that. I know I'm also enjoying it actually, and I know your people are enjoying it as well. You don't want it to end, and to be honest, we can be here like forever actually. So there are a lot of things I want to share, but I would say Abdul Ghaffar, maybe will you be the last person, to be honest, if that's okay, then we'll round up. Anyway, thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Please, is it compulsory or is it a must that if you take a leftover or a spillover from a particular sprint to the next sprint, must you finish up that one before you take up the task in the current sprint, or you can as well take it up to another sprint without finishing up before you start up the new sprint? If you take up a sprint, a pile up or a spillover from sprint 1, is it compulsory we finish it up before we start the task in sprint 2, or we can as well leave it to the sprint ahead? That's one. Then, since you said that we cannot extend our time for sprint, for example, if we have finished a particular project at sprint 10, and we discover that we have leftovers, we have spillovers, then we need some additional time to complete the sprint. Is it going to be that we are going to create another sprint for it so that we have sprint 11, for example? Yeah, those are my 2 questions. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Abdul Ghaffar, for that. I think that has been answered really when I was talking about it, to say that how you it's not a good pattern, for you having constant spillover is not best practice, if I can put it that way, in agile. So but when you take it in, I did explain that if the spillover takes priority over any other thing that needs to come into the new sprint, it will be dealt with first. Yeah, before you work on all the other things that you need to work on. And after having said that, like I said, if the PO intends that a 10 story goes into the new sprint and you already have a spillover, you're going to put into consideration those spillover coming in and reduce every other thing that needs to go into the new sprint. So like I said, for example, the PO wants 10 to go in, you have 2 spilling over, and you can only undo, the team can only undo 10 stories going into sprint. So that means we're just going to take 8 in, isn't it? So that we can finish what we take into that sprint, and then not continuously having a spillover all the time, which is, like I said, which is not good practice.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. All right. Thank you so much, everyone, for
the last one. Sorry, are we going to create additional sprints? If you are unable to finish up your project within the sprint you have created before, allocated before, are we going to have additional sprints?
Yeah, I did say that there might be an extension to the timeline for the project.
Okay.
Due to, if you're not able to, definitely there will be an additional time extension. Let me put it that way, to the timeline.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, everyone. I know we've not been able to take all the questions that we want to, but like Deji said, we need to look at the time. This workshop was slated for 2 hours. I know we've gone past that. I want to believe it has been productive and everybody has, have a better insight, a better perspective to what we're going into and to what the internship is all about. So thank you so much for the team that did the demo for us. Thank you everyone for joining. Thank you for your interaction and your participation. Deji, I don't know if you have any other thing to say before.
Yeah. That's all. Thank you so much, Moji, and also thanks to all the Synergy 20 team that is able to come together to actually showcase how they run the team together. That is really, really brilliant, to be honest. It's really good. I know it's going to be difficult, as we always do this. Actually, it's basically trying to compress something that you will have done in 10 days into only 2 hours, and you guys have done it very well. Well done for that. So you've done really, really well. Thank you to the team. So one thing that I want to ask as a quick feedback, okay, please, if you really think this guy have done very well, just put 1. So if, in there. So let's send a lot of 1 to actually encourage them to, okay, this is just type a text, okay. 1 if you think, okay, they have done very well. So on this one. So, and as you are doing that, please, so at least also I will know that, yeah, we see our people here anyway. Just put your 1, just type 1 if you can. So yeah, thank you so much. Yeah. So one thing I want to say is like, yeah, you've actually learned about this. So, and the recording will be made available maybe within a few hours actually. So please ensure that you practice this actually within your team, right? Let your team be set up this way. When you're doing your retro, all the event that you're going to do, ensure that you do this, you follow this process as well. So we're going to be actually talking within the demos and everything. If you still have any issues, please do bring them up, okay? So except from that, I think I will meet you guys tomorrow. So tomorrow we'll have time to kind of, talk and just relax. On what's going to be introductions as well, so please do prepare to show your camera maybe for a few minutes when you are doing the introduction. So it's going to be 2 hours. I intend to make it just that 2 hours, but there are a lot of things to cover anyway, so hopefully we're able to do it within 2 hours. So it's going to be by team, so it's going to be like maybe just show your camera when your team is doing the presentation. That would be it. And also you also have opportunity to meet some of your mentors as well, so I've asked them to come on the sessions as well, so that they can show their camera as well. So that would also happen tomorrow. So yeah, it's going to be an interesting one tomorrow anyway. So I think that will be it. So I would also be meeting some of the guys in the dynamics as well. So 10 o'clock tonight. So if you are in the dynamics actually, so whether the Zeta and the Omega, so I think I made the Zeta yesterday, so you can still join this tonight's session as well, 10 p.m. and I will ask, the link will be sent out close to the time anyway, so you can have a session to actually ask any question that you want to have, or how this program will be structured, and also to use that also for elicitation of the requirement as well. So that will happen again tonight at 10 p.m. So quickly, just 1 minute, any question? Okay, all right, cool. Thank you, everybody.
No question, thank you.
Okay, cool. Thank you, everybody. So have a good afternoon. Yeah, see you later. Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Yes.
Thank you.